You guys are just absolutely amazing. So good to be here. Come on and give yourselves a great big round of applause. You guys are just great. I'm really excited and grateful for my good friend Maureen. She's been working so hard to kind of make sure that this go off flawlessly. This is not an easy venture, so just celebrate Maureen and just thank her for all of her hard work and the incredible staff. I'm grateful for our host. This guy is good. He should be on CNN or something like that. Brian Williams better watch out, so I appreciate him. I'd love to hear you laugh. There was a woman who used to frequent a pet store. She walks in one day and she walks toward the back, and the owner got a new parakeet. She walks by the parakeet, and the parakeet looks at her and says, "You sure are ugly." She goes straight to the owner and says, "This is absolutely outrageous. I've been here so frequently. How dare you have a pet that calls me ugly?" The owner apologizes and says, "Please, madam, come back tomorrow. I'll rectify the situation immediately." She comes back the next day, and she walks toward the back, and the parakeet once again repeats, "You sure are ugly." She storms out, and as she's walking out, the store owner says, "Please, come back tomorrow. I'm so sorry." And she comes back one last and final time. She walks toward the back. She looks at the parakeet looks at her. She looks at the parakeet looks at her. Finally, the parakeet says, "You know." It's really exciting to be here. You guys are just great. I want to talk a little bit about this whole notion of breakthrough. It's actually rather important, the concept to me. And I think I've just got one or I guess two or three kind of basic principles that have been, that I've sort of followed throughout my life. I grew up, rather, I guess, poor in many ways. My mother now is a physician. She went to medical school with 3 boys and a husband. Most would say 4 boys. And she's just an amazing woman. But growing up, she decided to go ahead and get her undergrad degree. So she stopped working, so we were just sort of surviving off of my father's income. And there we were growing up in the South Bronx. And it wasn't always very easy growing up in that context. I was raised with just a deep and profound understanding of the importance of education. Education is freedom, my father would frequently say. But I did not do well at all in school. I mean, I did abysmally. I was so bad that when I would get my report card, I would try to turn the deal over and change the B, I guess a C, to be honest, into an A, and the D into a B, and I mean, it was bad. Come to find out, I actually had a severe learning difference, a severe form of dyslexia that deeply affected the way I learned. So it wasn't that I couldn't learn or didn't have the capacity to learn, I just learned differently. And I think my first point is you have got to be okay with who you are fundamentally. If you're going to be positioned for a breakthrough in life, my friend, you're going to have to be okay with the fact that you are who you are. It is better to be hated for who you are than to be loved for who you're not. Isn't that good? That's real good. If you're writing, go ahead and write that down. It's better to be hated for who you are than to be loved for who you are not. I may not be able to compute mathematics very well at all. I may not have the greatest facility with science, but I have an amazing gift with people. I love people, and people love me. I can connect with anyone. It's just one of my gifts. If a Martian came down to the planet Earth, they would say, "Send Jamaal out to meet him. He'll have him laughing in a second." That's just my gift. And so I have had to learn to sort of focus in on my gift zone. Stop trying to be like someone else. Stop trying to be, a cheap copy of an expensive original. You are who you are for a reason. And so it's time for us, I think, in order to be positioned for a breakthrough, to be okay fundamentally with our strengths and with our weaknesses. There's a story told of a fellow who was really interested in the whole way that a caterpillar would become a butterfly. And so what he did is he studied this entire process. He captured caterpillars and watched them through that process. And he caught a caterpillar on the way of becoming a butterfly by emerging from its cocoon. So there he was, just really excited to actually capture this process. And he was one of the first people to make this discovery. In the midst of this transformance and this sort of metamorphosis, he took a scalpel and he cut the cocoon because the butterfly seemed to be struggling so mightily. In so doing, the butterfly emerged, and it was without the power of flight. And he couldn't understand this. He discussed the matter with another colleague of his, and his colleague said, well, you know what, next time, don't cut the cocoon. And so he waited for a little while, and lo and behold, he was able to capture another butterfly emerging from his cocoon. And this time, he stayed his hand. He did not reach for the scalpel. And as motivated as he was, as sympathetic as he was toward the butterfly for its huge and Herculean struggle, he allowed it to struggle. It emerged, and lo and behold, it was able to fly. He discovered that in that struggling process, in that process of emerging from this cocoon, unique oils are developed and produced on the butterfly's wings that give it the power to take flight. The second point I want to make is that there is power in your pain. There's power in your pain. I know what it is like to struggle through one challenge after another. I know what it's like to have dreams and desires and to see other people seemingly be able to take flight so easily and to be seemingly, reconciled to sort of, walk on the ground. But my friend, life has a way of developing metal of character that can only be produced through power. There's someone in here today, and you're sort of afraid. You're afraid of your dreams. You're afraid of the fact that you want to make such huge transformation. That you're afraid and intimidated of the fact that you really have a huge ambitions, and you don't know if you can accomplish them. I want to encourage you. I don't know where you may be at this stage in life, but use that pain, those discouragements, use every turn down, use every rejection, every letdown to produce the oils on the wings of your life that you will need to fly. I was really, really fortunate. I went off to Vanderbilt, and that was a wild experience for me. I mean, Vandy is known for being a very wealthy school. Here I was this poor guy, from the South Bronx, and I was talking to one of my friends, and she was talking about going home for Thanksgiving dinner. And I said, oh, that's great. And the way I got home was on the Greyhound bus. She says, my father will be flying in any second now. And I said, oh, that's fantastic. How are you going to get to the airport? And she says, well, he'll send a car to get me. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, got it like that. That's great. And I said, what time is your flight? And she was so nonchalant. She said, oh, whatever time he wants to leave. And I couldn't figure out how could she be so nonchalant about going back home on a flight. And so the car comes down, and I help her to the car, and I said, well, you better rush off. You don't want to miss your flight. And she says, no. My father flew down on his private plane. And so it was a totally different context for me. I mean, it was completely different. But one of the things that I was able to learn was I needed to be comfortable with discovering that the true value of life lies in the riches within. That the true value of life isn't determined by the amount of physical resources and material resources you're able to amass. That is not it. That's not where it is. The true value in life is amassed from developing and pursuing your passion no matter what. So that no matter what context you find yourself in, you're able to hoist your head high and say, I'm just as good as you, because I too have dreams and passions and desires that one day will become a reality. And so, my friend, you got to learn how to take your pain and turn it into power. And just one last, second to last point, don't want to torture you too much here. I think in order to position yourself for a real breakthrough, you got to learn how to nourish and develop key relationships. I wish I could say that I was recently elected to office because I'm just such a skilled and savvy fundraiser. Or I wish I could say that. I ran for a position and had two opponents. One of my opponents was able to raise more money in one night than I raised in my entire campaign. I mean, this guy was just a beast when it came to fundraising. And I could have used that as an excuse to give up on my dream. To say, well, you know what, maybe it just isn't my time. But there was something in me that said, you know what, this really is your time, and if you miss this moment, you will regret it for the rest of your life. And so I was so fortunate in that I had a key relationship. Many years ago, I met the previous mayor of New York City, Mayor David Dinkins, and I had tremendous respect for the mayor's leadership and ability. And I was able to sort of maintain and develop that relationship. My friends, life will offer you the opportunity to meet key people. And you have got to make up your mind to develop those relationships, because at some point later on in life, you will need that relationship resource to pursue your breakthrough. Who in your life have you met, and when you met them, you just knew in your heart, this person is important? Who in your life have you met, and when you shook their hand, when you looked them in their eye, you knew that this person had something that you wanted? How have you followed up? How have you positioned yourself so that you can call them your mentor? How have you positioned yourself so that when the time presented itself, you were able to pick up the phone and say, ma'am, sir, I could really use your help. I'd been developing my relationship with the mayor, and so when the opportunity emerged, I said, sir, I would really love your support in running for office. And you know what he said? He said something, and I'll never forget it, and I want to share it with you today. He said, Jamaal, if you win this race, it'll really be an exciting opportunity for you. I mean, the sky will really be the limit. If you don't, there'll be many other opportunities that come your way. But I want to encourage you with this. I want to encourage you to run as if you already won. My friend, I want to encourage you to live your life not waiting for one particular moment of breakthrough. That's not the way life is. You will miss too much. You will be too miserable. I want you to live your life as if you are walking from one breakthrough to the next. As if you're going from one good moment to the next, from one opportunity to the next. It will totally change your paradigm. It will shift the way you see life. The opportunities around every corner, around, behind every door. And so that's the way I ran. I said, you know what, I'm going to win. I'm going to run this thing as if I already won. So when I met people, I didn't meet them to try to convince them to vote for me. I met them knowing that they already had voted for me. They could not resist the urge to pull the lever for Jamaal Nelson. It changed my paradigm. And I was able to work harder and to overcome the fundraising differential. And I want to encourage you today with this final thought, that there are times in which you will sort of be able to seize a breakthrough. You'll be able to reach out and to grab it. But you will be terrorized by thoughts of fear and apprehension for whatever reason. You'll be intimidated by thoughts of, I'm too young, or I don't have enough experience, or maybe I won't be able to cut the mustard to meet the grade. Maybe this is just too big for me or too much for me. This audience is pretty young. I want to encourage you that age is but a number. You're not too young to see the greatness within manifest itself. You're not too young to change the world. There's a very famous fellow who was the president of Morehouse for many years, Benjamin Elijah Mays, who used to love to quote this poem, you only have a minute, only 60 seconds in it, forced upon us, can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it. We must suffer if we lose it, give an account if we abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but there's an eternity in it. My friend, your minute has come. It's your time. And when your breakthrough presents itself, seize it. Thank you so much.